Good evening, everyone. We'll call this meeting to order. It's Wednesday, September 11th, the standard Rockville City Council meeting. I'd ask that you participate in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening, everyone. We have a fairly robust agenda this evening, so we'll try to continue to move along at a pretty good pace. Roll call. We have 4 of our 5 council is here. Absent tonight is Jerry Tipple, but we do convene appropriately. Silence electronic devices. Now we would go into item number 4, additional approval or of the agenda. What's the wishes of the council? We do have one item, and I believe it's covered, and that is under 10B2, Stickney Hill partial flume resolution, and Mr. Bodie wasn't quite sure, but we do have it in front of us, so I don't believe we need to change anything on the agenda in that regards. The one thing that we have is item number 12, council action. There's really nothing that is under council action that's not above, so I'll probably just, in lieu of that, if it's appropriate with the council members, to just have a mayor and council report, and I do not have a mayor's report tonight, but in lieu of that, if we could just put in number 12. To that point?
Motion to approve the agenda with the one addition under Stickney Hill.
Okay.
Second.
Motion by Bill, seconded by Don to accept the agenda with slight modification. Discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Contrary, nays. Any abstention? Seeing none, passed unanimous. Public comments, a maximum of 3 minutes per individual. Now would be the time to advance to the lectern to share with us any and all issues as it relates to the governance of the city of Rockville. And if there's something that we as a council usually do not act on it, we would refer it either back to a committee or to our city administrator. It's for you to share to us and go from there. And name and address, please, for the record.
My name is April Statler, 402 Walnut Circle. And I just came to let the council know that the folks in our neighborhood, we noticed that the ice skating rink has been taken out of the park. And we've just been kind of talking about things that we may or may not want to see at the park, and we wanted the council to know that we'd like some involvement in deciding what happens with the park for our kids.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you for those comments. And just as an aside, those are the type of comments that can also certainly go forward to our city administrator, and then our city administrator, if he doesn't have it, then go to us as a council meeting.
Hi, I'm Amy Grinsteiner from 11279 Hubert Lane. I would just like to publicly thank Mayor Dwayne and City Council Member Jerry, who's not here, for the special meeting last week, for making an attempt to be transparent. I really appreciated your efforts to put the COLA discussion and vote on one of these meetings when obviously the public can much more likely attend, instead of keeping it at a 9 a.m. during a weekday meeting. So thank you for trying, and I hope one more of you will vote next time, so the vote will be 3-2 in the opposite direction. Thank you.
Thank you for those comments, Amy. Others that would care to address the wishes of the council here? This is your opportunity. I'll ask a second time. Anyone that cares to move up to the lectern, address those of us who are up here on the dais, now is your opportunity. And a last call. Seeing no movement, we will continue. We are now going to be moving to item number 6, approval of the August 2019 bills paid. What's the wishes of the council?
I'll make a motion to approve as presented.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, note any conflict of interest bills, just as a FYI for the council members. To that end, any discussion? Motion was by Bill, seconded by Brian, to accept the report of the August bills as paid. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Those
I
opposed,
would
nay.
like to abstain from check numbers 019283 and 019317.
Okay, so those opposed would be nay, and you would be abstaining on those two particular ones. Is that fair? Okay, very good. That motion passed unanimous with the exception of the abstention of those that are stated by Brian. Okay, consent agenda could be approved in one motion if there's nothing pulled out for a specific discussion.
I would so move to approve.
Okay.
I'll second it.
There are 5 items that are on the consent agenda. The motion is, and seconded, motion was by Brian, seconded by Don, to move the consent agenda as in mass. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of that motion signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Any abstentions? None. Passed unanimous. Okay, we are up to item number 8, Rockville Veterans Monument Flag Presentation. And Mr. Bodie, I'm not quite sure where we go from here.
I believe Senator Howe is here and members of the 911 Memorial Committee and the Rockville Fire Department. If they want to come up behind the lectern, that'd be great. And then, Mr. Mayor, if you'd come up in front of the lectern.
Okay.
That'd be perfect.
Very nice.
What we'd like to do is, I had the honor and the privilege to serve with the, as a member of the Rockville Veterans Memorial Board, and they somehow selected me to present this. But with it, this flag was flown over the state capitol in 2000 on Memorial Day in 2016. We started this program in August of 2015, and we completed it and we dedicated it on September 11th, 3 years ago, in 2016. It has the document that says it was flown on Memorial Day in 2016. It also has a penny, a nickel, a dime, and a quarter. The significance of that is a penny placed on the gravestone of a soldier indicates that you visited. A nickel means that you went to boot camp with them. A dime indicates that you were served in the unit with them, and a quarter is you were with them when they died. So we'd like to present this to the city of Rockville because without your help and without giving us the land to put this on, it never would have happened. So then the flag also is the first flag that flown over the memorial.
Are you Senator Howell? Are you?
I'm a board member.
Board member of the committee. Well, thank you, Jeff, and the committee. Thank you very much on behalf of the city of Rockville. One of the proudest moments that I've had in the city of Rockville, and I hope that virtually every other feels the same way. It was a phenomenal day, whether it was dedicated and continued. Thank you.
Thank you.
Right here, and let's make sure that we get it in an appropriate spot. Thank you to all committee members that were involved, Rodney, particularly Rosie and Darrell, if I recall right, were very much involved, many people in this community, so richly deserved. Great moment.
I believe this will be aired. There was a presentation over at the monument.
Yeah.
I believe this will be aired tonight on KSTP and KTCA.
Yep. It's happening at the 6 o'clock news hour as we speak, and yes. Okay, great. Thank you very much. We now move into item number 9, and that's the budget. Historically, we need to have a preliminary budget presented to the county auditor by no later than September 30th. So we did have a networking earlier. A multitude of people from the city participated in or were involved at that meeting, and we now will continue. Mr. Bodie, if you could be so kind as to try to get that summary of where we're at. We deliberated quite heavily for several hours, a lot of things, but in particular the budget. And we did not come up with a specific number. Hopefully this will happen so we don't have a special meeting. So, council members, Mr. Bodie, please proceed.
Mr. Mayor and members, after the last meeting, we started that meeting out at 141, 145% increase over last year. And the bulk of it, as usual, is always in the major expenditures, CIP items. Number one importance, always, for the city of Rockville is our roads. Historically, over the last 4 or 5 years, you've set aside $250,000 a year for roads. In 2018, we spent about $1 million in road repairs. In 2019, we're spending about $600,000. That fund is almost all but gone. And so we have several roads in the city that are blowing up literally as we stand here. They're going to need attention next year. So if you do what you're proposing to do and throw an additional 350 into the 250, you're going to increase taxes by 26% over last year. One of the items that you did do is there was an additional $100,000 for a pumper truck for the city of Rockville that's going to need to be replaced in about 7 years at a cost of about $700,000. If we set aside $100,000 a year, that money would be available in 7 years when it does need to get replaced. Just as a reminder, the current backup truck is 32 to 40 years old. In 7 years, it will exceed 40 years old. The backup. Our primary truck is currently, I believe, 20 years old. And the primary truck is then becoming the backup. During discussions at the last meeting, it wasn't a popular idea among the council members, but you removed the $100,000, you added it to roads. The thought of that proposal was, let's put that $100,000 fire truck on next year's election as a referendum and ask the public if they want to set aside an additional $100,000 for a fire truck. I can say that the fire department appreciates all the efforts that the council does and the taxpayers do for the department house. However, I think I can also say the fire department doesn't want to be looked down on for adding something on a referendum. Does that make sense? And so I think for your consideration, again, it doesn't have to be tonight, is to move that $100,000 back down to the pumper. That's for consideration. And put the truck, the street fund back to 250 additional instead of 350. That was discussion at the last meeting. Some of the other items here are not really that great. You added an additional $20,000 for a year to set aside for the public works building that is desperately needed. We can't house the equipment that we have to service this community in the existing building. A lot of our equipment does sit outside. $20,000 was meant to add on to the existing new firehouse. That also has its pros and cons. So that's where that $20,000 is. There's $30,000 to set aside for a plow truck. Gravel roads additional $34,000, that'd be attention next year. Road patching at $15,000. I believe the public works director had it at $40,000. I strong arm them down to $15,000. Emergency management for additional siren. Having said all that, you're sitting at 31% increase over last year's taxes. Your decision tonight is to set a preliminary budget. As all of you know, you can set the budget and you can lower it Whatever you set tonight, you may not increase.
The
I
number,
don't know what the feedback you're gonna get on a 31% preliminary. I would guess your phone's gonna ring.
I've been already asking citizens, and the number one complaint I get are the roads. We've been dealing with this for 15, 20 years. The roads are not getting any better. And I just want to say that I think this council, that some of the citizens will hold this council badly because taxes are going to go up. Because taxes have not gone up in the last 2 years. That council has held it down, which obviously plays out in the condition of our roads and everything else. So I just want to make that, people, that you hear that, you may look badly at this council for raising taxes, but they haven't been. And a lot of other places have gone up quite a bit, and our roads are in dire need. I don't have to tell you that, you already know it.
Mr. Mayor, would you allow me a little flexibility?
Of course, and this is one of the biggest decisions, and it's one of the most challenging decisions that a council makes each and every year. And so that balance between the services versus the tax, and Bill is right on, you know, there was increase philosophically at least, but to a degree, but not nearly where we should have. I'm sensing you have someone that's our good neighbor.
Mayor and council members, Mr. Wicker here is here from Main Prairie Township. We share a couple of roads with Main Prairie Township. One of them happens to be 210th Street. It is on Main Prairie Township's agenda to fix that road next year, which we would share half that cost. And before, Mr. Mayor, you would allow Mr. Wicker to address the council, I want to just point out that if our share of 210 is around $200,000, you didn't increase our road fund at all. There's nothing left to fix 88, Roush, White Oak, and Lena, and Lake Road from County Road 6 to
Lena, yep.
Lena.
Yeah.
It doesn't, Lake Road wouldn't be next year, but White Oak, Lena from County Road 6 to Berg, Roush Lake Road, and 88. 88 and Roush Lake Road are just horrendous.
Yeah.
And so anyway, Mr. Mayor,
Yeah.
Mr. Wicker.
John, please proceed and state who you are and your position. If you-
Main Prairie Township Supervisor. I've been having some discussions with Marty and Gene, and I just actually took a measurement on the road before I came here. I know about 8998, so 9,000 feet. It's 1 3/4 mile. We just paid bills last night. We did about 5 miles of road to the Knife River. Probably about an average of this year at 230,000 miles. So, you know, I just quickly calculated 9,000 feet at 250,000. You know, what this price will be next year. That was the project at about 425,000. I think Gene, you would come up with a.
Yep, it was right around there. I thought, yep, about 450, 475.
Yeah,
But, yeah.
and I mean, for budgeting, and by no means, I mean, if you have other projects that take priority, I mean, we're flexible, I guess is what I'm going to say. It doesn't. I know our agreement with the city is it's 1 year in advance, you know, for budget purposes. If there's going to be any major road, I think it states over $5,000. It has to be agreed to 1 year in advance for budget purposes. So that's the legal agreement we have. So that's, I guess, what I'm doing. And it doesn't matter, you know, I guess we're kind of.
Yeah. And so that proposed cost would then be bore equally by the two entities, Rockville half and Main Prairie half?
Do like 412 or
Yeah.
412, 220, somewhere in there.
Okay. And Don certainly is aware for some years, and that's been kicked around a number of years when that time comes. So we certainly are cognizant of the fact that, you know, it's probably high time.
Yeah, that road's been discussed over the years, Ray, and I know John knows, and I've driven it many times. It's to the point, we either, can you kick it down the road another year? You know, they can do it, we have to come up with money later. But it's a road, like, in the core city itself. It's traveled a lot, it has to be.
Some of these roads just seem to give up all
Yeah,
the
they
time.
give up.
And that could be that by next spring, that just becomes unmanageable. You know how it
Right.
is. I know it transpires, but, if I could, one other.
Sure.
Here, and it just kind of came up with a, you know, obviously, we contract fire protection with you also, so obviously that's all a concern of ours too. You mentioned what a new pumper truck and whatnot. What year, I'm just going, what year was the fire hall built and what's the lane length on it? Is that a 515-year lane?
I thought it was 2006.
It's either 5 or 6.
5 or 6. So we've got,
I thought it was, I was going to say 50, like 17 years they thought it was.
Budgeted 2 years prior to building.
I guess where I'm going with it is can you know, there would be a, if you could, and on our behalf, we're always trying to do penny ventures and stretch our dollars. We need to see our fire contract go up anymore. You know, if the replacement of equipment can be delayed to that point, but I don't know when that matures or when that.
February of 27 is the last payment. February of 27.
27.
2027 of the building fund, the building,
Okay, so that's probably.
8 years.
I should wait that long.
Yeah.
No, I just.
yeah, and John, and certainly for the public, the OSI rating, is it OSI? ISO rating has a big bearing on it, so if we do not have our fire departments current in terms of the equipment and apparatuses, then the potential of your insurance rates are going up. So that's the fine dance again that we go.
It's hard to
Yeah,
staff those.
yeah.
I think good equipment is required to get staffing and keep morale of people there too, so they don't want
And-
to overshot, so.
And tonight, and John, those are great comments, and I think Mr. Bodie shared with us, if we take, not proposing to have an additional increase, but if we move it around from roads back to fire truck, or put it on a referendum for next year, or something like that, we can't go higher, but those are flexible in the budget itself. They're not water enterprise or sewer enterprise funds, they're in the general fund. So, we certainly hear you. Comments, questions of any of the council members of John, as long as he's here?
well, so if we fix the shared road 2020, with the current amount, we would have 0
To do anything.
to do anything else.
That's a pretty fair statement. Yes, sir.
That doesn't sit real good with me. And of course, I think the public would string me up if I said, let's put another 200,000 in there. And just so everybody knows, we can't go up after today, but we can go down. I'm recommending we put another 100 grand in there for roads.
If I could, Mr. Mayor and Mr. Becker, Member Becker, during the last meeting, we did take in consideration 210 was part of Main Prairie Township's plan. So that was part of this, what are we at there, 600,000?
600,000.
Yep.
600,000. We knew that about 200,000, I was actually hoping to be less than that, but we're guessing 200,000 is going to come out, leaving 400,000 to, and I would have to look at our alts 2 and 3 this year. 88 and Roush, I would think, are going to be right there at the top of the next streets to do.
There's a number of them, we all know.
There's a number, but we can't get them all done.
Yeah, we just can't.
So you're going to have 400,000 left to do something.
If I may comment.
Sure.
I don't know if they have any roads that are, if you look at the county 5-year plan and what they're scheduled for roads there next year, if you have any roads that abut theirs, because then you can bid with the county. We did that this year on some roads, they're substantial savings. It really was. That was quite surprising.
And that's something that would be the day-to-day operation of our administrator. Yeah.
It's supposed to be, the county, it's supposed to be, abut the county project for it to be eligible for county bid. But they do kind of fudge those rules a little bit. If you're close, I think you could qualify for it. So I don't know, I don't know. That might be something we want to.
We do watch for that.
It's just, not that it makes any difference, but is this overlay,
It would be the same thing as we did with the rest
not
of the.
reconstruct, but it's,
No, not reconstruct.
Mill and overlay.
Mill and overlay, shouldering, correct. Yes, Mr. Mayor.
well, and I think Marty's right, or Mr. Bodie's right on, that 4 of us, and we did discuss that at the workshop, and it was included. I think at that point, we all agreed that that should be one of the ones that we're going to be working on this year, because you guys have been waiting for a long period. So unless something compelling comes along, I think that's going to be certainly one of the roads that we're going to
Well,
do
if that
this year.
situation arises, I think we'd be
we had to stretch it out now here, but it went
Yeah.
over our field.
You know, I've been getting several calls. I know Mr. Bodie's gotten calls from certain people that drive that road, and there's a safety hazard, and this would be addressed. So, any other comments of John?
I just figured out that
Brad
if we
to
did
turn
the
the mics.
31%, my taxes would go up $223.
That's nothing to
Is
do with
it,
the
is it
school.
okay with this council to add some money in there and we can always take it out later on?
And so, John, thank you. I don't sense any other comments as it relates to you. So continued dialogue here, council members. My first reaction, that's a fairly substantial increase, but yet on the opposite side, roads are ones that have been on the back burner ever since the two buildings kind of took front runner for a number of years. It's roads, that's where I get most of the calls from at this stage of the game, at least. And unless there's a compromise or something like that, the 350 plus the 250 that was proposed, so that's 600,000, which should be giving us a fairly large amount of the marginal roads that we have at this point. It doesn't clean all of it. It's still less expensive than to go with a bonding long
I always
term.
take it out. I'm suggesting we add 100 grand.
If you want, if you allow me, let me add 100,000 to that number.
I was gonna say, yeah, I didn't know if you had that.
That puts you at a 38.3% increase. I can almost guarantee for certain your phone's gonna ring.
Well, it already has. And I've already solicited people. If you know me, I want to talk to the citizens so they know what's going on. We can always take it out.
I don't think that's the right idea, though. That's what's happened in the last 18 years. It's been cut and cut.
I know.
And now it's come to a head, and we're sitting here trying to scramble, and this council is gonna get scrutinized for being the one to, hey.
And that's what I said earlier.
And you know what, if people wanna be mad, look at the prior councils and get mad at them for not taking action and getting some of this road work done. It's just like, it's a tough situation. We can bond, like you said, but then
Well,
a big portion of that money goes just to pay the bond and to pay the bond service.
Yeah.
So that's not even helping our
No,
situation.
no.
So,
But I would suggest we add 100 grand
Over and above that we had the other day at 131.
over and above what's sitting in front of you, Dwayne.
And I have a tough time for that. I have a tough time swallowing it at 131, but we all kind of walked away from there saying that's the logical one. So I didn't get anything compelling to change from the other day till this magical point. And we don't have the fire truck. That's what we did the other day. We took the stuff from the fire pumper and brought it up into there to have the 350, the additional 350, which was at 250 at that point. So that's 100,000 already. That's a monumental leap for me. But anyways, it's the council. We as a council collectively work on it and go from there. So any other discussion? If not, there would be a motion.
It's a lot of money there, but like you said, I've been on the past council too. Maybe part of my was blame when we took it out. But the roads aren't to the point here. But look, another way to look at this is we can also work with Main Prairie Township. You know, maybe we can't come up with the finance to pay everything the first. We can work out an agreement that it'll be paid in another budget year or so forth. Because I know there's other township that's in the same predicament like this. Well, I work for them that they say, they're telling me already that I think next year taxes will go up the roads. We kind of, like here, you keep the even keel, you don't want to raise it up, but you just band-aid it, but it's going to have to be fixed.
Yep.
And I mean, I don't like this idea that high, but we might be able to go through after this. There might be other places in the budget, a line item somewhere that can be reduced, that can take 100,000 off somewhere. But right now, it's a lot. I don't like the idea, but we got to fix the roads. I mean, I'd rather pay a little extra my tax than all of a sudden knock my front end out and have to go to the bank and borrow money or go on a checking account for front end repair.
Well, I'll make that into a motion. You can always vote me down.
Okay, so Mr., if that's the case, Bill, we should have a specific number for in that.
$100,000 for roads.
it's right up there, Dwayne. So it'll be a 38.31% increase.
But that total dollar in the resolution, we should have a dollar value.
The total is 1,924,350. 356. 1924356. And if you'd just give me a second, Mr. Mayor, I haven't been in this worksheet today, so I want to verify these forms.
And to back up my comment, I just want to make sure the public is aware that we will do everything that we possibly can not to add this, but after tonight, we can't bring it back in.
Yeah, we can bring it lower, but not higher. You're right, Bill, that's right. In case we were wondering about the pause, Mr. Bodie is just doing his last number, so the actual, not a percentage, but an actual number. That's what we're waiting on, and take all the time you need, Mr. Bodie.
I'm comfortable with that number, 1.924.356, for a 38.31% increase over last year as a preliminary levy.
So I'll make that into a motion.
Okay, Bill has made that motion for a grand total of $1,924,356 as our preliminary proposed budget. Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second that.
Okay, motion by Bill, seconded by Don. Continued discussion.
Any feelings, Mr. Mayor, on the fire pumper? You want to leave that money in the roads? I mean,
I believe right now we do not have that in, if I'm correct.
it's in the roads right now.
Yeah, it's in the roads, but
Do
if
you foresee adding this as a genuine referendum? Is this something you're going to vote for to put on the ballot?
Marty,
We wouldn't need to be making that decision tonight, but conceptually, we talked about it the other day, and some of us felt that it was probably a logical way so that citizen participation, that they can determine if they want to pay for that additional one. We have 7 years, and each year that we stall, it's going to be higher. Ben, go ahead.
Marty, can we add that, take that line item of 100,000 out of the roads and put on the fire truck after tonight, or is that?
Yes, we can.
Absolutely, no, you can do this.
Juggle that
Yes.
part around.
You can actually do that anytime during the year.
Okay.
It takes council action to move money from one fund to another. But it'd be kind of nice to know what your thought process was.
And
Gene and Justin will even now start working on what, for the process for next year, and if they know they got an additional 100,000, that might, they've got time, but yes, you have time as well.
any other comments? If not, I'll just make one last comment. I had a tough time accepting the previous one without that additional 100,000 that's just implemented right now. And so I would have probably gone for the previous, when we had it the other day, which was a grand total of 131 or 31% increase, but 38% is just a little too high, so I'm going to be voting against this here one. If there's a chance for any other comments, if not, I'll call the question. All those in favor of the motion to go with the $1,924,356, please signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Any abstentions? None. There's dissension in the ranks, so Mr. Bodie, would you please proceed with the roll call vote?
To the question, Member Simon, yea or nay?
Yay.
Member Herbert?
Yay.
Member Becker?
Yay.
Mayor Willenbring?
Nay.
Mr. Mayor, it passes on a 3-1.
3-1 vote. Passed on 3-1 vote. The new number, 1,924,356. This is preliminary, and more than likely, the final budget will be done then in December. Correct?
Yes, sir.
So, very good. Thank you, gentlemen. Let us continue to proceed. We are now into item number 10, Department Reports, Planning Commission. Bill, please proceed.
Council, we have 3 items on our planning commission agenda tonight. The first one is the Heisrick Pickup and Power Sports. Last month, the council, don't take this wrong, kicked this back to the Planning Commission for review. I met with the neighbors to see if there was any possible way they would put conditions on the use of this conditional use permit. There was not. So we are recommending denial.
Okay, you've heard the recommendation of the chair of the Planning Commission group to deny the conditional use permit request. What's the wishes of the council? Motion would be in order.
I'll make the motion.
And that would be to deny. And there was also discussion as to the non-conforming issues that are on site right now. Was that part of your motion to abate those? I
I believe it's 30-day to vacate.
30 day, that's what
You
you
want to
guys,
make that part of your motion?
I'll make that part of the motion.
okay, so the motion to deny the interim conditional use permit and have any obvious non-conforming issues ratified or abated in 30 days. That's the motion. Any other discussion?
Oh, I'm sorry, that's out of order.
Okay, this is not a public input. The public input was put down by the Planning Commission group. So you've heard the motion and the second, continued discussion by the council.
Well, I looked at this a lot, I know where it is and that, it'd be good for business, but over the years I've been on, I'm afraid what's gonna happen, we're gonna start, somebody else will come again, and we might have the same issue. You get introduced in a conditional use permit, and all of a sudden we sit there with a problem with neighbors not getting along over a certain issue. So I think, that's one of my basic main reasons. We don't want to create more hardships or create something down the road.
Okay, good comments. Any other comments?
Mr. Mayor, if I could,
Please
I
proceed.
put up on the screen for the council, in considering a conditional use permit, you must answer affirmatively to all the questions. And I believe that I would ask you to review those questions. But if you start at the very top, not a burden on public facility is not a question, but compatible with existing and planned adjacent uses is where the CUP fails to start with. And I believe the city attorney Cadillac would like you to review them and at least touch on them. I think number 3 fails, 2 fails, 3. If you have 1 fails, the CUP is not approved.
That is correct.
And I
Yes.
you've got 2 and 3 that fail. 4 is okay. Comprehensive plan is questionable. Traffic hazard is questionable because we had concerns there. I think we got most of the ones that were.
And this is an exercise that the planning and zoning group consistently uses when they deliberate, and then they make a recommendation to us. It's the same format, and that's what Mr. Bodie just pointed out. If there's any that are not yeses, and there's very obvious that some of those would not be able to be deliverable if we were going to go forward with the thing. And the motion right now stands to deny the conditional use permit and the 30-day period to abate any of the non-conforming uses that are out there on site right now. Any other comments or questions as it relates to this one? And once we get done with it, we can't go forward until we depends upon the outcome of this one. So, Sue, I sense that you have a comment.
I do, Your Honor, thank you. What I would suggest is that you be specific in your comments when you're reviewing these questions. Give me facts why you think that this application doesn't meet that factor.
Okay.
I need more than just neighborhood outcry. I need facts such as impacts on the neighbors with sound, noise, odors, light, that sort of thing.
Okay, and to that end, so we'll go and call the question first to see if it goes and passes or fails, and then upon that, then we will make the next move, whatever the outcome is. So are we ready for the question? I sense that we are ready to call the question. All those in favor, and the motion is to deny. So though if you are voting yes, that would mean the voting is to deny, okay? So all those in favor of the motion to deny the conditional use permit, please signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those nay? Okay, there's any abstentions? Seeing none, all those in, oh, let's see, that's a split house. Let's call the roll call vote. Mr. Bodie, please
The
proceed.
motion is to deny the conditional use permit. Member Simon, approve of that motion?
Yay.
Member Herberg?
Nay.
Member Becker?
Aye.
Mayor Willenbring?
Aye.
That motion prevails on a 3-1 vote, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, to that end, you've heard the outcome of that motion, so now we have a bit of chores to do. Whenever a conditional use or a permit is not agreed upon to go forward, it's our obligation to advance to Mr. Bodie and our legal counsel some of the specific reasons that they were denied, and I think that's where we need to be articulate, and it won't take long, but Mr. Bodie already pointed out several. The one thing that I didn't hear there, and that's the environmental concerns, so that's one of the things that I really feel compelled that would be a major issue if they are currently not in compliance, and the conditions had that, but there was no movement forward. So that was one of the key issues that caused me heartburn, and that's why I voted for it.
Our current zoning does not allow
It's zoned Ag 40, so it's not compatible with the zoning
Okay.
of Ag 40.
So
it's-
are you good with that? Okay.
The use and zoning ordinance is not compatible with that. Good point, Bill.
Item number 3,
Comprehensive
Mr.
plan.
Mayor, as we've obviously had, there is evidence to support that there are effects to the adjacent property owners in a negative way by sound and sight.
Yep. And that's a point I was going to have. The comprehensive plan zoning for map of Rockville is predominantly residential, though it's in the larger lots and in the improved lots in meets and bounds. Description. Donnie or Bill, it would be wrong for me to ask.
Good with, do you need more, Sue?
Any other comments
You-
that
you can-
need to be addressed? Or Sue, please chime in if there's others that pop into your mind that we should deliberate. Now would be the time.
Environmentally is a concern, not a concern, it's
That would be number 8.
Noise pollution.
Number 5 fails. The comprehensive plan does not show a business in that area.
Okay. Is that, give us adequate information so that if it needed to be defensible?
9, 10, and 11 are not applicable. Well, 11, there's no recorded feedlot there, but it's Ag 40, and there are cattle farms in the vicinity.
they actually abut the back property, right?
So is that something that, well,
I don't think it applies to feedlot, but I think it's okay to mention again in Ag 40 there are cattle in the back lot and the front.
But there was concern of a citizen in regards to that at the public hearing.
is there, the procedure, this happens very seldom, so the procedure after we have...
With your permission, Mr. Mayor and council members, I will ask Sue Cadillac, our attorney, to draft up the findings of fact, and they'll be brought to you at the next meeting in
So we can
October.
verify it and acknowledge it, that those are the reasons why.
Good, thank you.
Okay, great. Anything else? Okay.
Next on our agenda is Resolution 2019-42, an accessory structure variance request for Tom and Amanda Ike. The property address is 6050 Scenic View Court in Rockville. I believe this is in the new Schneider development, which is an RR property. The owners recently combined two parcels into one, so they have approximately 10.3 acres. 18 public hearing notices were mailed out. Now, at the public hearing, there were a good number of neighbors who spoke up. They had no problem with the size of the structure. as long as it's located in the proper spot with DNR approvals. So we are recommending approval.
Okay, that was a recommendation from the Planning and Zoning to approve Resolution 2019-42, which is the accessory structure variance request, and that would be basically size,
Yes, sir, it was just the size.
just the size.
Make a motion to approve.
Okay,
I'll second.
motion's been made and second to advance the Resolution 2019-42 discussion.
Is there, when it's in regards to the shed, you know, to the sign, well, I'm assuming when they get built, it'll be aesthetically pleasing to the public. They'll do a little landscape on the trees to keep it that it won't be like sticking out like some people say a sore thumb, which I don't think it will. You know, most places when they build them sheds, when it's another lot, will be pretty.
And that would be addressed when it comes forward for the building permit and forward. The one thing, if I may quickly, and that is, I did some research and it was brought up at the Planning and Zoning, I was there as an observer, and that anytime that you have a outbuilding or an accessory building beyond 5,000 square feet and it's used for business or commercial purposes, that would then trigger fire suppressant.
It's irrelevant to this question. That's handled during the permit process.
And I would like to hear the rationale that it's irrelevant because
They're not asking for sprinkler or commercial use. Right now, they're asking for a
residential or
private use.
agricultural use, so it could be filled with, okay, great. And I just thought that it should be brought up, and if you're meeting with the Ikes and it was going to be used for commercial, it'd be wise for us to convey that information. So if it's not relevant at this point, we will...
If I could though, Mr. Mayor, if during your discussion point, it's not a variance. Our zoning currently allows for one driveway per parcel. The Ikes have just recently combined the two parcels into one, and prior to that combination, I approved of two separate driveways. I just think it's okay to make mention for the minutes that we're approving two driveways.
That's correct. Good point. And is the development far enough along so that there's tar, first lift of tar is on at this stage of the game, so conveyance of title and all that good
I think
stuff?
we're getting off on a
sorry.
different subject.
Yep. Okay. And that was something that was brought up, and so I had to bring it up. Okay.
Move to call the question.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah, let's call the question. All those in favor of that motion, 2019-42, signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. That passed unanimous. Please proceed.
Last item on the Planning Commission agenda is Resolution 2019-43, which is the Voight Administrative Plat. Property is zoned Ag 40. Total subdivision area is 14,715 square feet, or 45 by 327. No new lots, parcels are created. Neighbor is buying the additional 45 feet subdivision and attaching to their existing parcel. Planning Commission is recommending approval.
Okay, you've heard the report. What's the wishes of the council?
Move to approve.
I'll second.
Motion by Brian, seconded by Don to move Resolution 2019-43 Voight Administrative Plat. Any other discussion?
Yes, sir.
Please proceed. Yes, Mr. Bodie?
If I could, for the record, Mr. Mayor, maybe a couple years younger, I would have been sharp enough to catch this. I did not. We're going to have to come back to you to rezone it. It's Ag 40. It's being attached. That 45 feet is being attached to an R1 parcel, so I do need to do a rezone.
But we're not adding additional lots, so it can be an administrative split. And
Yeah, the administrative plat is fine. The plat is required because it's a registered land survey, but I wish I would have caught that it was two different zonings, but I'll do that later.
okay, so that'll come back as a future agenda item through the planning. Okay. You need to vote on this, correct? Okay, all those in favor of that motion signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Any abstention? Seeing none, passed unanimous. Thank you, Bill. City Engineer, Justin.
Evening, Mayor and Council. First item on the agenda there is just update 2019 street improvement project. Contractor has completed all the work on the project. Shouldering is complete, topsoiling is complete, seating is complete. Signage has been completed. All of those items since our last meeting We'll be going through and working to finalize the project and do a closeout on the project and get you a final pay estimate for your consideration, more than likely at the next month's council meeting. So, unless there's any other comments, that's that item.
Justin, I got a comment on Hollis Road now. I know a little while back that heavy rain, they worked on the shoulder. Is the shouldering staying in place now? We had heavy rain the other day, and it sounded they're supposed to get some more rain. Is it? I didn't drive it today. I thought I might as well wait till it rains some more, check it.
So they did do some work on the shouldering since they initially put it down. Previously, when they put it down, there was a kind of a ridge that was built up along that. They have removed that. There is still locations along the roadway where the shoulder is very steep. It was very steep before the road project was completed, and the project did not include, we did not fund grading work to widen out the roadway or fatten out those slopes. So they are still very steep, and there is probably some spots that will require some routine ongoing maintenance. Unfortunately, that's without throwing a bunch of money at it. That's just probably the way it's gotta have to be.
And I think one other item now that just came to mind is where the culverts are. Some culverts are kind of low in there if they got the riprap in, so we don't have dirt washing it.
They did do some work on the culverts, clean the culverts out good.
That's what I'd be
seeded
concerned
it.
about, so we don't have issues there.
And we will continue to monitor that.
Okay.
That'll be on the warranty period. So if we do have washouts or issues with that, we can have the contractor come back.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay. Any other comments or questions, queries of city engineer?
He's got one more on there.
Oh, yes. Then we'll move on to item number 2. Thanks.
So Mayor and Council, this item is for Stickney Hill Dairy regarding the installation of a meter within the city right-of-way and a valve on that as well. This is per previous discussions that we've had regarding this item and direction that the council gave to move forward with providing plans and specifications to do this work and receive quotes on the project. I apologize for not getting this stuff over to you in your packet last week. However, the reason for the delay was we were waiting for a second bid to come in. I had asked for bids to come in last week and was waiting for a second bid to come in. I felt like it was prudent to have at least 2 bids on this job. And we did get a second bid. The low quote was from Voss Plumbing and Heating, the amount of $48,895 for the base bid. And then there was a second bid received for $64,497. So as indicated, just briefly, I included with your packet or on the table there this evening the proposal that we had sent out, which includes the specs for the meter, as well as a couple plan sheets showing where the location would be and the details of the project. Just a couple points of note would be that the base bid includes a 48-inch diameter concrete manhole, that the partial flume meter would actually be placed down inside at the bottom of the manhole. And then from that, how the meter works is it has a transducer that reads senses the level, the velocity of the flow through the partial flume. And then that comes in, so outside the manhole there will be a cabinet, temperature controlled cabinet, thermostatically controlled, where it houses the meter digital output for the, basically it calculates what the flow is. So that's where all the essentially electronics are of the system. As well as there's a device in there that essentially calculates what the flow is on a daily basis, digitizer. And so it will record what the daily flow is on a 24-hour period, and it will store that a month's worth of data. So with the base bid, the city would need to go out there, manually read the meter once a month, and then they can download that data, and that can be on an optional basis whether we want to download that data each and every month. But it is good data to have the ability so we can see what the daily flows are. I think that is very advantageous to have that. So we download that onto a thumb drive, we can take it in and download it on our computers. We did bid an alternate bid, an ad alternate, to hook that whole system up into the city's SCADA system as well, where it would be all integrated into the city's SCADA system. We won't have to go out there and have Public Works manually read that on a monthly basis, and it would be accessible through the public works system. That was an additional $19,250. So it is a fair amount of money. Now, one thing that, one point on that is it would be quite a small cost, I would say, to upsize the size of that cabinet outside of there, so that capability of doing, implementing the SCADA at any point in time in the future would be possible. Because right now, basically the way it sits is the base bid includes a smaller cabinet. So if we were to add SCADA in the future, then we would have to put a second cabinet out there. But for a cost of probably less than $1,000 additional to the $48,895, we could increase the size of that cabinet at this point in time, and then the cost of that SCADA would be less in the future if that's something we're going to move forward with.
Justin, how about the security of that cabinet? Is that included?
Yes, it is a lockable cabinet.
Tamper-proof?
That's
Okay.
correct. Yep,
Thank you.
ground mounted. And then there would be an electrical service that would be installed, so it would be on its own designated electrical service from Stearns Electric, and then there would be a monthly charge. Based on current rates, it's $24.75 per month plus the usage, but that's going to be hardly anything.
So coming from my background,
Yep.
is there any way to defeat this meter on their part?
From a reliability perspective, is that your question?
No, I don't think so. I'm just concerned about tampering. I mean, and maybe that's a discussion other than here.
I think it's a fair question.
Yeah, really, as long as everything is secure, there's not, as long as the manhole is secured and the cabinet's secured, there's really not a way to tamper with it.
It's
No.
designed to be 3%, within 3% plus minus accuracy or something like that.
Right.
From standard in the industry.
Mhm.
Too bad we don't have Jerry here because he did a lot of research, and so, but he was in here when we made the decision. So at this stage of the game, that would be what, are we going to call that resolution 2019-44 to continue that?
Yes, sir.
So what's the wishes of the group? I think we made this decision a long time ago. We're just going to have council action to continue.
I have one last question.
Oh, sure, please.
This will be paid back, correct?
That's part of the resolution, is that it would be invoiced to Stickney. If not paid, it'll be put on the tax roll. I believe Attorney Cadillac has a comment to Mr. Mayor.
Okay. I'm going to make a motion to approve with the additional $1,000 for the bigger cabinet.
I'll second that motion.
And the electrical hookup, all of that. So it's not the addendum or the addition, but all, the alternate, but all of the rest that was brought forward.
That's for the,
Yep.
I think Sue wanted to comment.
Sure, please.
I do, thank you, Honorable Mayor. There is a question, we've got a lawsuit going, well, Stickney has sued us over the sewer rates, sewer and water bills. And at this point, there's a question of whether Stickney has a industrial use permit with the city of Rockville because it was terminated by the city of Cold Spring. So the question then is, are we going to recoup what we spend on this? We don't know what Stickney's intention is. At this point, they are still shipping their waste stream to the city of St. Cloud. We need to know from them that they are going to, in the future, be discharging back into the city of Rockville system. Otherwise, I don't know that we can recoup the costs. So that's my one concern. Sure, we can bill them, but are we actually going to be able to recoup the costs if they're not using the city's system for their industrial discharge?
Okay, and to that end, without digging in attorney-client privilege, when the time comes, we would probably go into a sequestered mode and talk about that and mitigate. There's all kinds of things. So we're probably premature for us to make any kind of a decision. We made that decision some time ago that we're going forward. And the question I have is, all of this, Justin, is on city property.
That's correct.
Correct, so not ingress and egress that we need to be concerned about?
Right. We
Okay,
don't need any authorization from Stickney to actually do the work. It's just a question of, are we
Yeah.
going to recover? And we are trying to get that scheduled for mediation. I think we're looking at October dates now.
Yeah.
So that's my only concern. We might be a little premature if we're awarding this contract.
We made that decision, we drew that line in the sand, and I don't sense any of us that are ready to back off from that point. That's probably a bad choice in the works. It's really for the benefit of us having some capacity, capability for future expansion of homes, because we have a large industrial user, and we don't know how much of that we have. So we have control of our own destiny, and I think that's it. So, Mr. Bodie, you had a comment, I sensed.
If the mayor and council, if you're willing for a friendly amendment to the motion, is that this motion would be, is approved contingent on our appointed attorney of Jim Thompson's approval? Because I don't want to jeopardize.
The League of Minnesota Cities.
Yes, that's fine.
That's fine with the motion.
Yeah.
Okay,
One
Call
more
the question.
any other comments?
One more comment. If I recall, when we talked about this originally, Stickney was in favor of paying for that bill, so.
Yep. Yes, they were.
Sometimes.
But I realize they can change their mind, but granted, that still was their intent, so.
Well, and I think that's behind us, but we made a decision and so like that, and I sense that we're ready to vote, and so any other discussion? If not, I'll call the question. We did have a motion by someone and a seconded?
Yes.
Okay. A motion was by Brian and seconded by Bill to proceed with 2019-44, and that's the resolution authorizing installation of the partial flume.
And the bid awarded to,
Oh, yeah.
Boss.
Yes,
Yes,
with
okay.
the additional $1,000.
okay,
For the
gotcha.
better
Yeah,
cabinet.
Make sure I want to make sure that
Yep.
was in there.
Yep. Okay, I'll call the question. All those in favor of that motion signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, nay. Any abstentions? Seeing none, passed unanimous. Very good. Okay, thank you, Justin. Any other comments, questions? Okay, great. Gene, Public Works, please proceed.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I believe you all have my written report. Sorry about the late date. Just a couple things to add to that. Excel has said that they're going to be cleaning up the trees and the bushes and stuff along Chapel Street underneath the electric lines. That's going to happen this month. And then we did have to take the 1 ton in for repairs, but that was under warranty. So that was good news. Any questions on the report?
I do not, but I'd like to quickly make a comment, and that is under street discussion, which would be under yours. We just had that. That's the
Yes.
210, and that's
Yes,
what
Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Wicker was here. In case anybody's wondering what is 210 street discussion, that was early on when, okay.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, and the reason I put it on is because there's some repairs that need to be made, and how extensive we do depends upon whether we're going to do the project or not. You know, there's no use of wasting good money after bad, you know.
Great.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
May I jump in on Public
Sure,
Works?
let's back for a bit.
It's a joint between Public Works and City Engineer. Just an update on the seal coat project. Been a little rainy lately, so a contractor has had it scheduled for quite a number of several weeks here, but just trying to get their other couple jobs that they have ahead of this one done, and it keeps getting slid down. Just heard from them today that they're planning on seal coating on Saturday, and then fog sealing would occur early next week, which actually would work out really well based on the weather forecast. So we hope that the weather holds and we'll get that yet completed. And then Chapel is scheduled for next week as well for the shouldering that we talked about and approved earlier.
I've had questions, people how the signs are put out the last time they did it, they said, well, it's, the weather dictates where they're at.
Yep.
Like now,
So there was notice given out to every single resident. Unfortunately, everything's gotten pushed back, so they know it's coming, but that's where we're at.
Okay. Thank you. We're going to advance to item number 11, administration, Tri-County Quarterly Report. It was a written report, does not take council action by us, but please proceed. Brian?
Gene, I got a question for you in regards to this bill here for St. Joe Township. We got to pay that, correct?
Correct.
Okay, and that's all?
That was
FYI.
Yeah, that was just FYI, because they do crack fill and that's 260th. We
Yep.
share the cost.
I knew
Yep.
that's what it was, but I just wanted to make sure that that was, not that it needed council.
No.
Very good. Good point, Brian. Okay, so no council action needed. Any comments, questions as it relates to Tri-County Cable? Okay, we will proceed to council action. Nothing, mayor, council, I have nothing to report. Any council reports from anyone?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
If we could just quickly, before we can, future agenda items, Brian was going to try to address this
I have
evening.
nothing to schedule yet, but I will.
No, want to bring that forward.
Yeah.
There's a major change in the APO. They used to have a large board meeting, and we'll discuss that at another item. So APO for a future agenda item, Mr. Bodie? Okay? And then others, if you have some other items, please advance them to Mr. Bodie as we go. Now, please, Bill, you were ready.
Made a motion to
Motion's been
adjourn.
made by Brian, seconded by both of the others here. So all those in favor of motion to adjourn, please signify by stating aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thank you, ladies, gentlemen, council members particular.